Hey, what's going on, everyone? Excited to have you back. Thanks for tuning in to the YouTube channel, podcast, iTunes, Spotify, whatever you're finding us. I have my dear friend, Maxine Watson, who I met through Next Level Training. And I was fortunate enough to be paired in the same group as her. So I'm super excited to have you be with her energy and just her positive messaging. And yeah, I think you're just up to some really amazing things. And I know that you're also the founder of Pure Energy Holistic Wellness. And I know you also are a Lomi Lomi um, practitioner as well.
I am. I do lots of cool, fun things.
Yeah.
So I like to hit all of the spectrums whenever I do anything. So I'd go from one extreme to the other. I just
Mhm.
find you get more variety that way, and you can fill in the blanks with lots of cool things. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I do a Lomi Lomi practice, and a Lomi Lomi is like a Hawaiian massage, and it's kind of like an energetic, intuitive massage. So it works with like really long strokes, and
Mm.
just kind of simulates the waves of aloha. And it's quite an experience. It's something that's hard to describe. It's kind of something you have
Yeah.
to feel,
Yeah.
like we all know what love is. Like we've all experienced what love feels like, right?
Uh-huh.
And but if you had to describe what love is by just using verbs or and adjectives to help you understand what love is, it would be a challenging thing to actually put into words. But you know what it
Mm.
feels like, right? You know
Yeah.
experiences of love. So you could say, I've been in love with my partner, I've been in love with my dog, I've been in love with my kids.
Huh.
But to describe what the feeling of love is a difficult thing. And so I feel
Mm.
like with the massage, because it is so different, that you almost have to have the experience of it in order to be able to fully
Mm.
understand what it's all about. But
I think I
it's
did it once and it was so relaxing. I had so much tension like
yeah,
built up from like years and years that it was like healing. It was like a healing experience for me.
yeah, for sure. It's really like a mind, body, soul kind of experience, right? And
Mm.
it if you think about when if you have stuff that's going on in your life and it's not like joyful and wonderful, then
Mhm.
sometimes you can really feel it in your body and you can feel it in localized area. And like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's like, whoa, ain't nobody got time to feel that emotion today. We're just gonna stick her on down there, like, so we
Yeah.
start packing and like Tetrising all these emotions into our body. And then
Yeah.
and it's almost like you're almost like, okay, I'm ready to experience my emotion. And you get nothing, right?
Yeah.
And but when you're like on your way to work or you're about to meet somebody in 5 minutes, that's when you're like, blah, 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 and you're like, oh no,
Mm.
I don't have time for that. So
Ah.
sometimes those things get stuck and tucked inside of our body, and then eventually it kind of like leaves like an energetic imprint on our body,
Mm.
and it kind of attaches itself to like on like a cellular level, and it attaches into our physical body, which then can have physical manifestations of injury or illness or things
Mm.
like that. So I kind of come in
Mm.
there and like rotor that stuff out, and dust out all the junk. But it's quite a ride. Like, I've never
Yeah.
actually had my own massage, but I've been present for a few of them. So
Mm. Yeah, I feel like the people that are always being of service often, you guys need it too, right? Like the healing.
oh, for
So
sure,
yeah,
for
it's
sure.
always like interesting because my mom's always a giver, right? She does nails for a living and
Yeah.
like she always gives so much to her kids and stuff. But I'm like, yeah, like sometimes it's good for you to take care of yourself too.
But isn't that a funny thing how you have that, like you have your give and you have your receive, right?
Yeah.
And often I think a lot of people are dominant in one or the other, and I for sure am in the giving part. It's where I'm most comfortable. It's where I feel like in my jam, and I just love to help other people. And then for me to lay down and receive and try to quiet this mind down, like you
Mm.
don't even know, like it's quite the challenge, right? It's like and so for me to lay there and like actually receive the massage, I have to kind of flip it, because if I want to give a massage, or I want to give a treatment, or I want to give love, or I want to give whatever, um, by somebody receiving it is actually giving back to me. You know what I mean? So yes, you're in a receiving position. However, the act of you receiving is really a give to me. So as I try to like reprogram my brain around the flip-flop between the giving and the receiving, and becoming more practiced at receiving, I have to look at it as if I offered, you a massage and you didn't want to receive it, then that wouldn't be you giving to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the give, receive, take, and allow, like they're all intertwined and interconnected. And depending on what side you sit, can have you in both a giving and a receiving role in the same position, right? So I'm giving that practitioner an opportunity to work, to show their gift, to demonstrate their love, to do whichever, right? In a receiving position. So I'm still giving. So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you're always like everyone's like darling, like people just love you, like always.
I mean, there's moments, we all have them, but I really enjoy people, and I love just to like there's so much stuff that's going on all the time, right? And we're inundated with things that are, less fun, and so if you can come in and just have a moment of joy and have a moment of lightening or lifting someone's spirits, like why not do that? Because it doesn't take much and it actually doesn't cost anything. I swear on my like headstone it'll say, "Here lies Maxine Watson," and my quote will be like, "Hi, I'm Maxine, want to be my friend?" Just because like I'm just constantly talking to everybody. Like, you might not know this yet, but you're really gonna like me. But I'm not sure where it comes from, but it's entertainment for sure. So so those are, and I also do some other fun stuff. So I also do I work building tiny houses. So take recycled material, and because there's so much waste in the world, like everyone just throws stuff out. We get something, it's not quite perfect, so we just throw it out. We get this, it's got a ding or a dent, and we don't need it. Can't be bothered to fix it. We'll just throw it out, buy a new one, right? But then I like how metaphorical is that to how we treat people and how we treat other things in our life. Like if we take stuff that is useless or not of value or not good, and we actually just spend a little time with it and give it a little love and shake it up a little bit, well, it's amazing what it can flourish into, and it's amazing what kind of purpose and what kind of value it really can bring. So you see there's just so much garbage, and it's kind of fun. It's like little scavenger hunt. It's like,
speaking of which, did you get the thing I sent you in the mail?
Yes, I did. That's awesome. I haven't had a chance to open it, but I've carried it around in my back. I've opened it. I haven't read it, but I've
okay, cool.
carried it around in my backpack for the last
Aw.
meant to. So it's fun. We actually just got back. We were in Saskatchewan this last weekend doing treatments, and just got in late last night. So that was it was fun.
I'm curious, like, what was your biggest takeaway from doing Next Level or from doing Breakthrough?
Oh man, what a ride that was, hey? It was something else. Like the first time I went there, it was like you have your issues, your things, your cherished wounds, and as much as we don't want to hold on to negativity or hold on to wounds, we always seem to. It almost then becomes an identifier of who we are as a person. And my biggest takeaway in the first one was I'm coming in with my cherished wound of abandonment, and feeling left by my dad, and feeling left by my mom, and feeling left by everybody in the world, and poor me, and sad panda over here. And then when I got through the course, I had a realization, and I was like, whoa, actually pulled the train. Nobody left me. Like nobody actually left Maxine Watson. Nobody did that. What happened is there was my dad left the situation, him and my mom broke up, and he was heartbroken, and he was sad, and he didn't know. We've all been through heartbreak, and if those that you haven't, thank God, because it hurts and it's uncomfortable, and you don't know what to do, you don't know where to go, and you don't know how to be. And so dad didn't leave me. He left the situation to find what he knew before to be comfortable so that he could start his own healing process.
Wow.
You know? And then I was like, so mom and dad ran a construction business. So mom was always home in the house running the business. So she wasn't away at a job all the time. And she, when her and dad split, she followed her dream and she got into politics, and with that came a lot of travel, and she had to go out and do stuff. So then I went from having a mom and dad in the house to now having dad gone back to Ireland to help his own heart heal, and mom fulfilling her dream, right? But that caused travel, and then therefore she had to leave. So then my 12-year-old brain and my 12-year-old story that I created started saying that everybody was leaving me, because as a 12-year-old, well, of course, that's exactly what's happening, right? But as a 38-year-old woman who's been in love and out of love and has traveled and chased dreams and have done fun things, I was like, whoa, she worked, like, hello, she worked. She had 3 kids and she was a single mom with a huge mortgage to pay for and everything else. And she wanted to follow her dream. She didn't leave me. She went to work, for crying out loud, you know? So then I got a chance to like calibrate what that meant. And then, I've had relationships and they've ended and whatever. And again, there goes my story, my self-fulfilling prophecy of like, everybody leaves me, everyone's dipping out, everyone's going away, it's just a matter of time. Just watch, I'll show you, and then I do a really good job to make sure that happens. But here's the other thing, is they didn't actually leave me either. They finished teaching me all the things that they needed to teach me in that moment. I had received all the lessons that I could receive from that partner or that person in that setting. So it was so like profound for me to actually wrap my head around that in a different context. But then that poses the question of like, what perceptions are we carrying that cause us to have this fantasy idea of what has either happened to us in the victimhood or who we are in like the herohood? You know what I mean? So that was a really big one for me, because I had a lot of like separation anxiety, and it's weird, all my dogs had it too. I can't imagine where that came from. So after that realization that like nobody actually left me, then I could kind of like, okay, breathe, and like, now what do I do with that new information? How can I harvest that and use it to my benefit? It's like, you actually are never being left. You're being taught lessons and guided and journeying through life, because everyone you meet and everyone you interact with are people that are here to teach you a lesson or allow you to have an experience, right? So, and yeah, so that was like huge for me, like 12 to 38. I know I only like 23, but come on. It was really profound for me to identify that. And then on the second course, we went through like what was like the horrible situation and the horrible whatever thing that ever happened and whatever it was. But in that moment, what I realized is like how unkind, like I'm kind, and I'm love, like I'm love. You pick that up in a minute, right? I like to make people laugh. I like to make people feel better. But it's like you have 2 brains, right? Like crazy girl brain and then like normal brain. That's like logical and like clear. And sometimes crazy girl brain can just go for a bit of a ride. And it's like that self-talk or that negative dialogue in which is playing in your mind, even though I am very positive, even though I have like a beautiful body image, even though I very, very much love myself. The thing that really gets me on my self-love part is that if my actions and or my words cause pain on someone else inadvertently, right? And then boy, can I ever take myself out back. But like, how is that serving? So in that moment, I realized that some of the most painful experiences in which I've encountered have been from myself and not like meeting my own expectations of what is okay and what is not okay. And yet with everyone around me, I come with this openness of forgiveness and the, beauty of lessons learned. And, mistakes are a beautiful thing in order to learn and move forward. but yet in my own mind, in my own self-dialogue or my own self-talk, I was really taking myself out back and just giving me the boots and not coming in with the same love and forgiveness for myself as I would carry for others, right? So that was like a really interesting perspective to understand. And it's still like one that I'm like kind of sorting through as to like how you use that in a more productive way, or even how to catch yourself in those moments when you're going down that runaway train. And I think we all have experienced that at some point or another, where we get into our own head and our own self-talk becomes not so wonderful. And it can really spin things and change things. Well, if I'm sitting inside my own self and I'm getting really frustrated and angry with myself for making a mistake, well, hello, you're allowed to make mistakes. That's how you learn. Like you learn how to ride a bike, you fall off. That's a mistake. You didn't keep your balance. So like, what's the difference? You know, where's the forgiveness for self to not be perfect? So just like journeying went through for yourself with the same kindness that you would present to other people. And it seems so simple, yet it's hard to capture because you don't always hear the replay that's going on in your brain. So like, have you ever walked into a store and then you're like, do in your store, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, a song came on. You're like, I really like that song. And then you notice that there's music playing in the store or the restaurant or wherever you've been, but you hadn't noticed up until that point, right? Well, how many times is that track playing in our own mind? And what song is it singing? You know, is it singing like happy, joyous, wonderful, you're the best thing in the world, go team Maxine? Or is it saying, whoa, do you know you did? You know you did. And then like, here you go, like here comes like the curb stomping that's about to happen because you made a mistake, because you said something wrong. But then if I'm having this internal dialogue and I'm having a fight with myself over not being perfect, I almost swore on your show. But then all of a sudden someone comes up to me and is like, hey, Maxine, I was just wondering, did you leave the door open? For no other reason besides wondering if the door was open because if the leaves blew in, or I don't know, something insignificant. I'm like, yeah, why? Why are you asking? You know, where did that come from? Because I just wasn't sure if the cat got out or not. So I was just wondering if you noticed. But because you're so angry already on the internal side, having that battle and that fight with yourself for not being perfect and not giving forgiveness, now someone comes to talk to you and you're like, wow, let's go. Like, I'm coming at you, you know? But meanwhile, they're just like having a glorious stroll down this beautiful day. And then all of a sudden they're just like sucker punched by you. You know? And it's like,
oh my God.
You know? And when you break it down like that, you're like, what? That's the stupidest thing ever. Why would you do that? And you're like, I don't know.
Oh my God. All right. Well, you just talked about so many things. So let me just kind of like dissect, like, oh my God. I think it's so relatable what you said about your dad went back to heal.
Yeah.
I think that was huge for me too. I think people that are like likable people like you and I, people, you know, like meeting a lot of people. I think the reason why we're like that is because, or at least I perceive it, it's like, oh, what I perceived I didn't get as a child, I seek to give that to others, you know? So for me, like when my dad moved from, we lived on the East Coast, he moved to the West Coast, like he lived to California and like didn't tell us. I similarly also made it mean that he left me instead of the situation, which with my mother was like not healthy, right? They were fighting. They were, you know, sometimes it would get physical. It was just not healthy. But, you know, like you said, as a little kid, like I made it mean that like, oh, I'm not worthy of being loved. I'm not worthy of being able to stick around for, right? So it was all about me and not about like, well, no, the situation was just not a good situation. So I definitely related a lot to what you just said.
And it's interesting, and how many people are having that dialogue in their own head about it being them. But if you think about it, like we idealize our parents in such a high manner, you know, because they're perfect. They're like our heroes. They're like here in the world, and we're just, you know, cruising by, like they can't do anything wrong. So I remember, I think I was 18 when I realized, I was like, whoa, wait, my parents aren't perfect. What? What are we told? They're grounding me for the same things they did, you know? And so understanding that like we all have our own internal dialogue that isn't wonderful. We all have our own limiting beliefs as to who we are and what we can be and what we can do, right? But our parents are no different, you know?
Yeah.
And if you think back, like, you know, how old my parents were when they were raising me, and I think about how the age that I am now and the age that I was when they were, you know, parenting me at that time, like, how smart was I? No, I was still fumbling through life. Like, it's fun to fumble through life sometimes. It's like an adventure game, but giving them the same opportunity. What would I have done at 24 or 25? Geez, like, come on. Like, sometimes I think I was a bit smarter then, but sometimes I'm not sure. But yeah, and just being able to, like, just offer forgiveness and offer compassion for the fact that they're not perfect, and it doesn't affect me. And I hear my mom talk sometimes, and she's like, oh, I regret this and I regret that. She said this the other day. She's like, well, I just have so many regrets. If I didn't do this, and if I didn't do that, and if I didn't do that. And I was like, oh, shut up. Like, nobody thinks that but you. Like, stop it. Like, it's insignificant. And any of those challenges in which we may have experienced, if we can look at it through the right filter and through the right lens, what a beautiful opportunity, you know? Because mom and dad had split and dad wasn't around, I got to be mom's, like, date for a lot of things. So here I was, like, 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever, up to 17. And I'm going to these, like, political events with my mom. But I'm not looking at them in, like, this hierarchy, like they're the politicians and I'm little Maxine. I'm like, well, these people are just my mom's friends. So I'm not very shy. I mean, I used to be, but I'm not. And so I'd go and talk to all these delegates, and as in, like, hey, because they're just people in a role, right? What a beautiful opportunity that I got to experience that. Would I have been able to experience that if mom and dad were still together and dad was in Canada? Probably not, you know, at least not in the same capacity, you know?
Love that.
So,
wow, so much good stuff. And then I also really appreciated what you said about, like, be careful of our self-fulfilling prophecy, and that you had a 12-year-old brain in a 30-something-year-old body, right? It's like, how many of us still, like, go back to our childhood, and sometimes it's unconscious, like, we don't even realize we're living our 12-year-old selves, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And it's a story that's been on repeat. So it was a story that was happened at 12 and 13, 14, 15, 16, years, decades, in fact. But it hasn't been adjusted to a 38-year-old mindset or a 25-year-old mindset, or to, you know, that understanding. So then that's it. Ask yourself, even just to bring it into consciousness and into awareness, so if that was wrong, if I misinterpreted that information, what other information could I possibly be misinterpreting, right? And it also, like, man, I talk a lot. I could be on here for 4 hours. Holy Hannah. So here's another thing, right, that I was thinking about just this weekend, and it kind of is reflective about what you're talking about, is, like, you know, so let's just use an elevator as an example. So I go to the elevator and I push the elevator button twice, because if I push it twice, it's going to come fast enough. And then someone says, you know, that you actually can just push it once and it comes just as fast. And I'm like, no, because you know why? I know, because my mom, she pushed it twice. It comes faster that way. And then my mom's mom used to push it twice, and my mom's mom's, I'm not sure they had elevators then, but you know, you get the point. But they used to push it twice. So I pushed it twice. So I'm doing these actions just based on watching what happened. Like, I think only 3% of our DNA is actually coded, and the rest is a nurture base. So how much of our actual genetic makeup and our cellular makeup in our body is happening because of learned behaviors or learned things from generations before us. And I'm really big into the generational lines, the ancestral lines, and the clearings and the things that get passed down. It's really fascinating to me, and I work a lot with it when I am in a session. But the question that you need to ask yourself is, like, if not you, then who, right? If it's not you that's going to start to make the change and realize, wait a second, I don't need to push the elevator button twice. I only need to push it once. because I've learned now that the stuff that my mom did and my grandma did and my great grandma did and the people all before me did was actually false information. It was that 12-year-old mindset in that 38-year-old body. So who stops and says, hold on, hold the train, back it up. I only need to push the elevator button twice, only once. Because guess what? Hitting it twice, it actually causes a short circuit and it breaks things down. You know, so how many times in our communication style with our partners, with our children, with the people that we work with, are we doing the push the elevator button twice because that's what mom did, because that's what dad did, because that's what grandma did, right? Instead of saying, well, we don't have elevators anymore, we have escalators, so why don't we just get on the escalator? They never break down, they just turn into stairs, you know, like, but you know what I'm saying with that is like, there's so many things that we have that is learned behavior, but we're not even aware that it's learned behavior, or we're not even aware that it's an alternative way to do it. But if we just bring that thought into our own mindset and into our own consciousness, then we're already starting the work, because then it will present itself in front of us. And then we have the opportunity to make the decision and change. Right? Yeah, it's really cool.
I think my version of the elevator pressing it twice is around money. Like I think because my mom and my family has struggled with money so much that, you know, like even now as a, you know, she's been in the US for a while, like she still acts like we're poor, like she still acts like a refugee from Vietnam, you know what I mean? So every dollar, like it's all about the money. And it's like, dude, like we're not poor anymore. You don't have to act like we're scraping by, you know what I mean? But I think that's just learned behavior that like it's just passed on. And then me and my sisters noticed that too. We're like, man, like why do we sometimes act like, you know, we're living like paycheck to paycheck, you know? That's interesting.
Well, and it's like, and then the pendulum swings, right? So it's here we go from this like huge awareness or fear of not having enough or not having abundance of, and then it swings in the other direction. And then you go from like, you know, buying the, you know, cheap stuff here and there and being resourceful with your money. And then to the thing of be like, well, I always have enough money. So then it goes to the other way and the pendulum swings. So then where does it come into balance? Because we can't even, you know, someone who has a bunch of money probably is very conscious of how they spend it. Right. And because they know that when they don't spend money, they make money. So where am I putting my money in that's actually going to bring money back to me? So it's trying to find that balance, but that's with everything, right? It is like, and I think that may be what we're here to learn when we're sitting in the physical world, trying to understand like, where's the balance, you know? You know, because the pendulum swings like this.
Yeah, like what you said, because I know a lot of Asian families where like their parents, you know, when they first immigrated to the United States, like they were they would save every dollar, they wouldn't spend anything. And then some of my friends have said that it's crazy because my parents make a lot of money, but you wouldn't know, like they're so frugal that they won't even spend $10 for like something nice. They're like, no, we have. So like you said, some people, it's so far off the deep end that it's just like, you know, it's interesting, right? Like now they're afraid of spending money because they're just traumatized from what happened when they're like 30 years ago. You know?
And it's also really cool to see like I've done a lot of travel into a lot of really cool places. And one of my big takeaways from traveling, I think I was in Peru when I realized, I'm like, man, we just have it so backwards over here. It's like spend, gather, get more, get bigger, get more, get fancier, get right? And but it's like when I was in Peru, it was like people just were happy and they worked until they paid their money and then they just were happy and did the things that they want to do. So and looking at currency is more than just dollar value. Currency is time. Currency is freedom, you know, because if you think about like, oh, this pot here behind me that I got at Valley Village for $3, it was a really good deal. So let's say that pot behind me was $500 because it looks fancy, so it's $500. So okay, for me to work to make $500 in order to buy that pot that looks fancy sitting on my thing behind me, that's going to cost me, I don't know, let's say 40 hours of work, you know, let's just pretend for fun. So for 40 hours of work, I can purchase this. Okay, perfect. It's worth it. It looks nice. I want it in my house. I'm willing to invest those 40 hours worth of work in order to get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we're not taking into account is if I had, and we're so short on time, if I had an extra 40 hours in my week, what would I do with it? Where would I go? Would I go to the mountains? Would I go for a walk? Would I hang out with my mom? Would I go visit a girlfriend in the Yukon? Would I spend more time with my partner, really showing and appreciating him how much I care for him? You know, so that pot didn't cost me 40 hours work and $500. It was $3. But it cost me 40 hours of my life that I didn't get to choose what I wanted to do. Right? So the cost of something, we see the value of it pretty, but it's actually costing us more than just the dollar value, but we don't look at it, you know?
Right.
Like, you know, you buy a fancy house, well, now your mortgage is $3,500 a month or whatever it is a month.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of hours in which you have to work in a month in order to pay for where you live. Well, could we actually live smaller? And I'm not like, let's go be minimalistic. I'm just saying, just be conscious of what it's truly costing you. Because for me, my freedom to like flow, like if you haven't caught it already, but I'm very like, I just want to go where the wind takes me. You know, I just want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And for me, that's an incredible freedom, you know, to be able to have the opportunity to do that. So what I want to do is I want to build my life around the ability to flow with how I'm feeling, you know, and to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And in order to do that, do I really need these $100 pants? Well, I need 2 pairs of them, but then I can mix these $2 t-shirts with those $100 pants and I'm still looking pretty good. You know what I mean? But then it comes back to like the idea behind the tiny house stuff is if we're using recycled or wasted material and we just spend a little time with it, we can make really, really, really beautiful things. In fact, you can live in them. You know what I mean? It's garbage. It's stuff that people are throwing away, but how much cost or how much has that cost someone to throw away? How many hours away from their family? How many hours away from their children? How many hours away from the life that they actually truly want to be living? Right? Crazy stuff. It's crazy in here too. You don't even know. Yeah.
It's crazy, right? Because I would say a good 20 years of my life, I was like trying to be everything that my parents wasn't, right? I was like, well, I don't want to be like them, you know? And then I realized I spent so much time trying to be what I knew what I didn't want to be, but I had no idea what I actually wanted to be, right? So it's like, well, instead of asking the question and, you know, and like trying to fix or whatever, why don't I be intentional with what I want to create, you know? So it's just interesting to see, like, I was like, wow. And I think as a society, you're right. You're completely right. It's always about the more, the next, like a bigger house or bigger, whatever. But so many of that, like, doesn't actually make us happy, you know? Like, I know for me, like going to things like next level, like those are like the highlights of my life. Like I love being in those spaces, but every time I did move to a better apartment, like it's the same. Like it's nice for like a day, right?
Yeah.
And then you get used to it and then you're like, okay, and then let me buy a nicer, you know, it's like, I don't know, like for me, that just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's a lot of like, you get bigger space, it's more to clean. I like having a clean house. I do not like being the person that has to clean it. Like it's a lot of it, like I would rather be out for a walk in the bush than you know, scrubbing the floors in a 3,500 square foot house. Like my house is 101 years old. I bought it almost 6 years ago and it's under 500 square feet. So it takes no time to mess and it doesn't take very long to clean. But again, like I have girlfriends that would just love to do that all day long. That would just like make them the most happy to sort and organize and tuck and tidy and whatever, you know, but everyone has their own love and their own passion. So it's like actually sitting in it and figuring it out. And I like what you said is that you said, like, I saw all the things that I don't want, you know, but sometimes it's like, well, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want?
Throwback.
Like, you're like, I don't know what I want. Like, I don't really need anything. I don't know. But everyone's like, well, look at what you do want, but sometimes you need to find the don't wants to be able to experience what the do wants are.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's true.
Okay, I don't, like, let's say I'm trying to find a client. I don't want someone who doesn't show up on time. I don't want someone who doesn't pay on time. So what do I want? Okay, so if I don't want that, what's the opposite? I do want people that show up on time. I do want people that pay regularly. So now because the don'ts are easy to find, right? But they're there for a purpose. So don't just sit on the don'ts, but find out what then from the don'ts, what do I want, right?
Yeah.
You know, and then what does that look like? And how do I create it? You know, because we can manifest like mothers. Like you don't even like we're master. I'm really glad I haven't for one time yet, I think. But we like are master manifestors. We can actually we can manifest whatever we want. Yeah. Like with 100% certainty, I know that within my heart and all of my being. But the question I ask myself is, well, what am I manifesting? Like, what is it? What is that autoplay happening in my brain that I'm not hearing? I'm not hearing the song playing in the restaurant because I'm not paying attention. What am I manifesting in those thoughts and in that energy that I am now creating in my life? Right? Am I manifesting the things that I want? Am I manifesting the do's, or am I manifesting the fears and the don'ts? Because equally are as powerful, but you have two different results, you know? Like love and fear is nearly the same thing, but completely and totally different. You know what I mean? So there's some more things to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many nuggets of gold. I already wrote 20 things.
Did you? Man, you should just follow me around because I'm always talking. And I
know there's always like so many gems. I like how you're very clear when you said like I'm love, right? Like I thought that was really cool that you were that clear, because I don't think many of us are intentional like that, where we know like who we are, right?
Yeah.
At that level.
And that's like, it's like, who do you want to show up as? And one of the things that go through my mind sometimes is like, think it, act it, be it, right? And so I want to be fit. Okay. So I want to be fit. Cool. So what do fit people think like? Fit people think that they are making good choices. Fit people think that this, fit people think that, fit people, whatever. Okay, well, what do fit people do? Okay, well, fit people go out for walks. Well, fit people go and take their everyday movements and make it an exercise. Fit people do, you know, whatever. So now I'm starting to change my programming in my brain, changing my thoughts to be thinking like what I want to become, you know? And then what do? Now I'm going to start acting like they do. And then next thing you know, I'm showing up that way, you know? And, you know, I want to be a successful business owner. Well, how does a successful business owner think? What does a successful business owner do? Well, hold the train. Here comes a successful business owner. Dun, 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 dun. Like, but it's so simple yet so complicated at the same time, right? It's almost like our human brains, like no, that's way too simple. 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. Like, it can't be that simple. No, I think that plus actually, well, looks like a negative here, but it also looks like a divide. So maybe it's 1 plus minus 1, so then it's 1. No, I think it's divided by, and we start like mumble jumbling it all up when it's actually, you know, actually simple. But we just can't believe it can be simple. So we're like, whoa, let's make it complicated. This is too good. Let's change it. Yeah. Unconsciously. But, you know.
I think you're right. I think we definitely make things harder than it really is. Like, I would say the most simple advice I would give to people who just want to be successful in general is I just say, just complete the past and forgive the past. And then once you have self-forgiveness and once you forgive like others for whatever you perceive them to have wronged you, your life would just be exponentially better. But like people are like, no, that can't be it. That's too easy. You know, it's like, no, it's that easy.
It is that easy. And it's also like in giving, you know, sometimes you think, well, how do you forgive somebody? well, do you want me to forgive that person? Do you even know what they did to me? It's like, yeah, but look at what they're renting space in your body and in your everything. Why are you letting them rent the space? They've already like showed you that they aren't going to pay. So it isn't about forgiving. It's about harvesting the good out of a situation in order to find what you've gained from it. Because we have all been in a situation where like, well, that's it. This is where it ends. Life's over. That situation happened and I can't go any further. Like, game over. Oh man, you know, where's my memorial card? Like, whatever. But then like 6 months, a year, 10 days, whatever, a lifetime, 30 years, you get down the road and you go, whoa, hold the train. I'm so glad that happened, because had that not happened, then I wouldn't have met this person. I wouldn't have had this opportunity. I wouldn't have traveled here. I wouldn't have traveled there. So then you can turn around and be like, whoa, I'm so grateful for that horrible trip, like terrible situation that happened, because had that not happened, I wouldn't have gained all of these things, right?
Yeah.
So if we can start looking at what happened to us with gratitude, even though we may not understand why it has happened, but we know because of past experiences that we will eventually get to a point in which we are grateful for that to have happened, because the growth in which it gave us, right? And if we can harvest, and I don't say go and pick up really quickly from the store, I'm saying harvest, like take the work, do the work to actually harvest the food off the field and harvest the good out of a bad situation, then now we can give forgiveness, because we aren't mad, because we're only showing up with gratitude for what it has given us. That doesn't excuse what people have done to you. That doesn't excuse the horrible, terrible, unimaginable things that people have experienced, unfortunately. But when you can try to flip that perspective, like nobody left Maxine, they left the situation. And this is what it gave me, you know? I have dual citizenship. That's really cool. Like, you know, because my dad lives in another country, you know? I have an ability to talk to anybody anywhere all the time. Sometimes I wish I wouldn't, because I had the opportunity to be put in front of people, to be ordered to develop and to grow and nurture that part of myself, right?
Yeah.
So why am I hanging on to anger, and why am I hanging on to fear when I could turn it around and offer gratitude? And sometimes in the moment when I'm like, oh, thank you, this is just great. Thank you very much for this situation here in front of me. You know, sometimes it's not like, oh, I love that. This is great. Thank you so much. Sometimes it's like, it's just really great. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow,
thank you. You know,
that's deep. Well, thank you so much, Maxine. We'll definitely have to have you back on round 2. You're like a living, breathing guru, you know, like there's so much wisdom stored in that. I want to acknowledge you for your ability to just heal, right? I mean, like you said, like clearly, like you're able to take this gift that didn't seem like a gift years ago, right? Like I'm sure during it, you're like, this sucks, you know, it was very hard, but clearly you're able to see it and then be able to impact so many lives, and it's beautiful. You know, I think not all of us use the gift, and not all of us, I think a lot of us think just about our own pains and our own things, but you're clearly impacting everyone else around you, by healing and by just helping people, you know, get complete. You know, I think it's a beautiful thing. So
and it's a journey, and we're all on it. So if we can just be a little bit gentler and a little bit kinder with each other, then how can it change? And it is just bringing that love and that light into yourself so that you can share it and be with other people. So, you know, if you can get this from a conversation, you know, millions of miles away, or at least thousands, then like, imagine what it's like in a session when you get these hands on you. It's like, it's a really, really cool experience. But I think that the world's in a place right now where we're starting to open up to that consciousness, to that level of like, you know, seeing that there's more stuff at work than that we necessarily understand. So just trust and love and offering gratitude in the moment, and just be kind to each other, like, and be nice, because it's easier. I like, you know, unlike water, I find the path of least resistance.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Maxine. I really, really appreciate our friendship, and I
Yeah,
can't
for
wait
sure.
for us to continue to have many more insightful conversations,
Me
and
too.
yeah, support each other throughout the years. I'm here if you ever need someone or something. And
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you so
And I
much.
know that for sure. And I just really appreciate having the opportunity to get out and share some of my messages, because there's gold in this strawberry blonde head of mine, you know?
Yeah, so much wisdom.
Yeah. So if I can just get it
Great.
out so people can hear it, because my dog's getting some eye rolls going on with the stuff I'm telling.
Thank you. And then
Yeah, you're welcome.
thanks for bringing light into a topic that not many can bring light to. Usually it's like serious and it's a lot, but you package it in a way that's digestible because it's relatable, and it just comes off like very authentic and very genuine from a warm place. So thank
Yeah, I
you.
really appreciate that. And I'm excited to share more messages with more people, because there's a lot of really cool things that I want to talk about. And there's a lot of really cool things that need to be spoken about, and in a way where
Mm.
you can bring a little humor to it, because
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
that's
can't laugh,
key.
you're crying. And one you can, get better wrinkles from than the other. So, anyways, but I do appreciate the opportunity to be able to come on and share some of the things that go on in my head. So it's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll post it. I'll definitely tag you and I'll send it to our next level community.
Oh, I love it.
And cheers. I'll see you at the next the next one. Take
Yeah,
care.
absolutely. You have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Right.